Okay, so welcome on behalf of BBC Advisory Committee. Thank you guys for being here and sticking with us this afternoon. I know after lunch sometimes everybody gets a little tired, full bellies. So today we're going to have a few activities. I'll have a little discussion about bystander intervention and some of the things that we're doing here at Eastern with bystander intervention training. My name is Amanda Harvey. I'm the Assistant Director for Health Education and Promotion here at Eastern Illinois University. We have been working with the bystander intervention program for, we're probably in our second year now, is what we have available on campus. Each year we build on it a little bit more. As I'm sure with any of you, we have to have the staff for it. So we have to kind of move some people around and have all of our team on board to be able to do the bystander intervention training. So today what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about what we do. We'll go into maybe some thoughts about what you guys do and what you have done. What I first thought we'd start off with is who's in the room. I kind of want to have an idea of who's in the room, what do you do, what's your job? So anybody want to start, say your name and just your job, Georgia?
I'm Georgia Ryan. I work in the nursing program at Eastern.
Thank you.
I'm Amber Osborne. I do the graduation guarantee programs here.
I'm Michael Franey. I'm a junior high dean of students.
Margaret Smith, and I'm a senior.
Great, thank you. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you guys for coming again. Hi. Okay, so what is unique about bystander intervention that's similar to a lot of health topics is that it can be used in all the different areas you guys were talking about. So as students, we train students on campus how to actively engage in bystander intervention, okay? And we'll talk about how we do that. But it's also good for the workplace. So we've talked to people in businesses, people outside. If students are working at Jimmy John's or if they're working at the mall, they can also think about bystander intervention and how it can play a serious role in the work environment. So what I want you to start off doing is just taking this sheet of paper. This will be a small activity with a few of you, so you have to be nice once we get to that point. But I'd like for you to write down just a little short piece of information. Summarize a situation in which you wish you would have intervened. And then write on there why you decided not to intervene in that situation. Now it could be anything. You don't have to think of a serious matter. It could be anything that you wish you just would have said something, but you didn't. So take a couple minutes and think about that. And do not write your names on the paper. Okay, take just a couple more seconds. All right, is everybody ready? Okay, so what I want you to do is take that yellow piece of paper and crumble it up. Yep. And then we're gonna have, I have to say, with the different groups when it gets large, we're gonna have a very friendly snowball fight. And it's yellow snow. So everybody go ahead and throw the ball.
You mean at people?
Yeah, very friendly. Yep. Wherever you want, just throw it in the room. There you go. Okay. So then everybody picks up their snowball, one that's near you. Usually with a large room, we have just a lot of snowballs flying everywhere. Okay, so go ahead and open up your snowball. If it is your own, no one will know, so that is okay. You don't have to say anything. And I'm going to ask if anybody would feel comfortable sharing what is written on their piece of paper.
I can
Okay.
do this.
Okay?
The time my brother talked down to his wife in public, he was rude and verbally insulting, abusive. That was similar to how our dad talks to our mom when he doesn't get his way. No one deserves to be talked to that way. I didn't intervene because of the huge family blowout that would have occurred in public and in front of the kids present, ours, his, and others.
Okay. Okay, so there is one example. Somebody else.
There were kids on the playground and somebody called the group retarded, and the person who wrote it said, what if that was your brother or sister?
Hmm.
Which person wishes he or she would have done more?
Okay, good. Yeah.
One of my friends calling another of my friends a very offensive word, I did not intervene as I didn't think it was my place and I didn't want to get involved. Even though she was joking, I can tell it hurt my friend deeply.
Thank you. Okay. Do you want to?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
There was a fight outside my apartment when I was in college. I didn't know what the situation was. There was a bunch of people standing around, even videotaping the fight. And this fight was between what seemed like 10 girls. It was a large group. I didn't say anything. When I saw what was going on, I had to go to work, so I left. I should have called the police, stepped in, and done something because someone's help was probably needed.
Okay, thank you. So generally when we do this type of activity, what you can see is there are different types of scenarios that bystander intervention can be very useful. One type would be maybe not necessarily the non-emergency situation. So whether you have a personality type that you don't necessarily want to confront somebody about maybe an offensive word or something offensive that's around a group of people, okay? Maybe that's something you could talk to them off to the side about. So not necessarily an emergency situation, but something that needs to be addressed, okay? Then we do have the emergency situations. So generally some of the examples that we get are, I wish I would have taken the keys from my friend who had been drinking all night. That's an emergency situation. I wish I would have stepped in when my friend was doing multiple shots or was, getting in a fight. That's an emergency situation. So there's a lot of different examples of why bystander intervention is so important. And this activity is good to kind of bring that out. Everybody has been in some type of situation that they wish they would have done something, whether it be say something right there, call 911, or say something later, or even reach out to a professional for help, okay? So in front of you, you guys will have the sheet that you worked on earlier. And I mixed those up as well, so if you flip those over again, if you have your sheet of paper, no one will know. But well, maybe with a small group they might. But when we're going to go through this, and I just want you to raise your hand if for the top portion is checked on your sheet of paper. So number 1, I have witnessed a situation in which someone's health and or safety have been in danger. Mark all that applies. So number 1, someone was drinking too much. Raise your hand if your sheet was checked. Majority of the room. Someone who was drinking intends to drive. The majority of the room. Someone was engaged in hazing or being hazed. Okay, none of you. Someone potentially was going to be taken advantage of or was going to take advantage of someone else sexually. Okay, a couple of you. Someone was in physical danger. Okay. Someone was struggling with an issue, whether it be depression, eating disorder, grief. Majority of the room. None of the above, and other. Okay. So, other? Is that what it said?
Right, yes.
Okay. Was there anything written down on it?
No, but
No.
there were, I mean, it's like 3 others besides that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that kind of shows, again, no one's alone with this. Everybody has seen some type of situation. At the bottom, number 2, if someone intervenes in a problem situation, a negative outcome can usually be avoided. Raise your hand if you have a check mark in the agree or strongly agree. All of you. I am more likely to intervene in a situation if others are present. Agree or strongly agree. Majority of you. Sometimes I do not say or do anything because no one else sees something as a problem. Agree or strongly agree. Half of you. I know it is my responsibility to intervene when I am aware of a problem situation. Agree or strongly agree. All of you. That's great. I have the skills to intervene with my peers. Agree or strongly agree. Majority of you. I am confident I know how to help when I see an event that requires action or intervention. Agree or strongly agree. Majority of you. Okay, so as we can see, this room, like with the lower numbers, there's not a huge difference. But when you get a group of people in here, you can see a lot of people are at different levels. Some people are very confident. They feel like they have the skills. They will step up. They will do it. We go through a training or we go through just a brief informational with them about bystander intervention, and they're like, oh, I wonder if I would. Would I really do something? Some people kind of go in panic mode. I've been there. I've done that. Okay? So what we try to do with bystander intervention training is build up that confidence. Give them the tools and the steps to take the next step to help. Okay? So, we'll see if I can get this away. So, just a definition, if anybody needs clarity, the bystander is someone who witnesses a problem behavior and does not do anything. Okay? Kind of just avoids it. Active bystander is someone who does something about the situation. Okay? Takes care of it, takes that first step in helping whatever it may be. Okay, so research says people are less helpful or heroic in situations than they think they will be. Does that surprise anybody? No? No? Okay. So there's a lot of variables that could affect whether somebody helps. It could be individual characteristics. What do you think that means? Individual characteristics.
Empathetic, compassionate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bold, strong.
Yes, exactly. Their individual, how they feel. Maybe some morals that they have. Okay? What about situational characteristics of why people wouldn't intervene?
Whether there was like weapons involved or
Yeah.
felt like they could physically be hurt.
Yeah. Maybe
There's
there's
other
safety.
people around.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Maybe they're on a time crunch, so they don't really want to stop and help anybody out because they have to get somewhere, which we've heard in some of our sessions Students will say, well, I was going to a meeting, or I had class and I had to get this test done, or something like that. Situational. What about victim characteristics? What do you think that means?
If maybe they have a bias towards a different race or ethnic group or gender even, and they feel like they maybe deserve it.
Yes, good example. Yes. Yeah, exactly. It could be maybe the way somebody looks. Maybe, maybe if there's a fight happening, oh, well, that person looks like they can take care of themselves. Don't worry about it. So they continue to walk on. Okay? So there's a lot of different reasons people don't intervene, and we're not going to dwell on those today. When we do our trainings, we go into deeper detail about why people don't intervene, because we want those to be clear. Okay? Because when you are in the workplace, you can actually identify some of those. Okay, so some of these listed up here, and I won't read word for word, but some of it could be you see something differently than what your friend sees it. Okay, so you see these two individuals talking, and it's starting to get a little bit heated. And maybe somebody is calling the other one a bad name or something like that. You see it as, oh, maybe they're playing around their friends, right? But your friend sees it as, no, I need to call 911. There's something going on there. And we always reinforce the fact that it's okay to call for help and nothing is wrong, because that's what they're there for. We would rather somebody call than have something bad happen. That's a form of bystander intervention. Calling 911, reaching out for help is a form of bystander intervention. And surprisingly, a lot of people won't do that because they're not comfortable with it. There's a story in California, it's been probably 5 or so years ago, where there's a traffic jam on a bridge, okay? And there were quite a few cars, probably hundreds. I can't remember exactly how many, but they were at the top. There was quite a few cars at the top of the bridge. And a 16-year-old female was in one of the cars, and another gentleman was in a different car. He gets out of his car, he pulls the 16-year-old female out of the car and beats her to death.
Remember that.
On the bridge, yes. After this happened, nobody helped. Nobody called 911. Nobody went to the bottom of the bridge where the police station was located. Nobody helped. So they did interviews after that for the witnesses, the bystanders. And they said, why didn't you help? Why didn't you make a phone call? Why didn't you walk down to the bottom of the bridge? It was a relationship fight. Oh, they were probably fighting because they're in a relationship. They were having problems with that. Come to find out, that female had no idea who the male was. They'd never met before. He had some problems and just picked a random person and beat her to death. But nobody called 911. To me, that was shocking. But if you look at some of the research, it says that the more people that are around, the less likely you are to help. Does that surprise anybody? No? I used to think power's in numbers, or power in numbers. You have more people there, we can all do this together. But if you don't know each other, are you likely to do that? Okay? So there's a lot, like I said, there's quite a few barriers that we look at. All these pretty pictures. If other people are acting like nothing is wrong, then why should you think, oh, something's wrong? Well, everybody else around me is saying, oh, it's fine, no big deal. So obviously that's not an issue. That's another barrier, okay? When we look at some of the research, and when we look at bystander intervention, we, of course, think of theory and how theory works. And I know theory is not always enjoyable to people. My boss loves theory, so we get it a lot in our office. But I did want to mention the theory of planned behavior, which looks directly at attitudes and beliefs. With bystander intervention, what we want to do is make it a norm. Okay? We want to make it a social norm on campus. Obviously, that would be ideal if we could get everybody on board. There's different ways to do that. But we can start with our work environments. We can start with the students that we work with. We can start on the smaller level and then just continue on. You can even think about friends and family. You know, if you know that maybe bullying is going on within your family, which does happen, you could be that person to say something. If your work environment is kind of a hostile environment, you could be the one to say something. Okay, a couple years ago, I had some interns that it was a hostile environment and I didn't know it. And I was never around for that because they wouldn't show that kind of behavior in front of me. And so one of the other interns said, can I say something? Can I say, let's not talk about this at work, or this is inappropriate work? And I said, yes, please do. They did, and it was completely done. It was over. They addressed it. They stepped up. They said something. Okay, so when we look at theory, what we want to look at are the attitudes and the beliefs. So how are we going to change those attitudes to make people realize that this is important? Okay? How are we going to sway those beliefs? That if each of us do something, that each of us take a stance, it will increase the positivity of the environment. It will lessen the amount of bullying, right? It will lessen the amount of alcohol poisoning, sexual assault. Maybe we can get help with people who are suffering from depression. This is kind of an overarching umbrella for all of this. Social norms theory, basically you want the majority culture to be active bystanders when we're looking directly at bystander intervention. Okay? And I'm not going to go into great detail with the theory because we're going to keep moving here. But what we're looking at is having individuals realize it is their responsibility. Then we broaden into the communities. Okay, then we get bigger. It is social responsibility. It is your responsibility as a citizen to do something. It is your responsibility as a student of Eastern Illinois University to do something. Assume the responsibility. And then you're creating that environment of this is what's supposed to happen. This is the norm. Okay? Level of intervention. So, when we do our bystander intervention training, we are looking at the individual, right? So when I'm in here doing step-up trainings for people, we are wanting to motivate that individual person. Okay? Now, if we can continue to get every RSO on campus, every classroom on campus, that's becoming the entire EIU community. And obviously some people won't be on board, some people won't feel motivated. But if we can get the majority to do something, to understand it, this can continue on. Okay? This can be built onto. Dr. Bean and I actually got to talk a little bit earlier today, and he was talking how bystander intervention is included in his curriculum at the younger ages. And I think he may have talked to you guys about it this afternoon, which is fantastic because you're starting early. You're starting this conversation early. And there's a lot of ways to reach them. The community level, you're challenging social norms and attitudes. So you may have, when we are looking at the individuals, you're going to have backfire. You're going to have people who don't agree or don't feed into it or don't feel like, oh, this is important. I've actually had people come and say to me, Amanda, this training and talking about this isn't going to do anything. You either have the personality to do something or you don't. And I said, oh, but I disagree. Because here's the thing with me. Before I stopped to think about it, if I came up on a situation, I probably would have been like, ooh, I'm nervous. I'm not sure what to do. But now that it's been brought to my attention, I've done some research on it. Now, when I come up to that situation, I can stop and think, okay, wait, I can do something. What can I do? I can think. And we go over the 5 steps of the Step Up program. That's the program that we use. There's other programs out there, but that's the program we use. So I can stop and think, oh, I could do something. This is what I can do. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so to kind of branch off, what we use at Eastern is Step Up by the Bacchus Network, and it was actually created at the University of Arizona. The Bacchus Network is a nationally known peer education program. We are a part of that organization. They teamed up with the University of Arizona to create the Step Up program. Some of the activities that we've done today is a part of the Step Up program. The 5 key points or steps for bystander intervention are listed up here. Okay? And notice the event and interpret the event as a problem, assume responsibility, know how to help, and then implement that help. Those are the 5 steps that we really, really focus on. Now, when we look at our trainings with students, faculty, staff, whoever it may be, we don't always have an hour and a half with them. Okay, everybody's busy schedules, everybody's going and doing. Ideally, we want everybody to do the full training because it goes over everything, it reduces those barriers, it increases that motivation, and really encourages people to do something. But the approach that we have taken this year is if we want to reach these crowds, if we want to reach our university as a whole, we have to put it into different areas. So this year, the 5 steps and a brief overview of bystander intervention is now included in the student standards presentation that they do on alcohol. Okay, we incorporated it into that. We talk about it in our office as everybody knows what bystander intervention is. We talk about the verbiage, we talk about how it works, how we can encourage people. We can include it in our sexual health presentations. We can talk about sexual assault, and if you're in that situation, how do you help? How do you help somebody, or how do you get help? We can talk about it with alcohol. We can talk about it here with bullying, and what do you say? How do you respond? And that's the biggest question we have, is when we talk about this, we'll have people asking, okay, so this is great, but how do I respond if it's, say, a bullying situation? Emergency situations, they know, let's call 911, let's do something, let's get an RA. But when you're looking at a type of situation like bullying, or somebody comes and discloses that they have an eating disorder, what do you do? How do you talk to that person? And that's when we have those one-on-one contact informationals with people. Or we have them go to the full training and we talk about, this is what you say, this is how you say it. And it's really, as many of you probably have learned about or know about with your jobs, it's sitting and talking to them, listening to them, and then reaching out to if they need a professional involved. We always tell students with like eating disorders, if you think there's maybe an alcoholic problem or something like that, you want to reach out and find those resources. So we provide those resources to them. Okay? Okay, effective bystander intervention program. So these are some thoughts on that. Bystander strategies is part of the broad approach. Okay, so what we want to do is get it incorporated into a lot of different areas. So that's what we're doing. That's kind of what you want to think about for your school or work environment. Theory-based development, because we all love theory, so put a little theory behind it. Social norms theory is always a good thing. We want to give them the proper dosage, keep reminding them this is something that's important. This is what you need to think about. Remember those steps, how you can make a difference. Community engagement, getting other people involved. We, on our campus, we have the Sexual Assault Task Force, so we include bystander intervention training within the Sexual Assault Task Force projects and trainings. We include that as part of it. We have a lot of community members on that. Community could also mean within the university, so getting different departments involved, like student standards, the counseling center. We have a lot of different departments that are included within this. It's not just a one-person job. It's everybody getting on the same page. Gender-sensitive design, contextualized programming, comprehensive program development, skilled and supported program facilitators, which is very important, I'll talk about in just a second, incorporation of evaluation. You will see that all of these are basically what you can use for programming in general, right? Because you want that evaluation, you want to know if this is working. You want to make sure that it's sensitive to all populations. It's not just gender sensitive, it's all populations, right? So when you're looking at this type of training, you want to look at your audience. Who is your audience? If I get in the room and I have a variety of people in there, I'm going to keep it pretty general, right? I'm going to keep it pretty general. I'm going to talk about bystander intervention, and then they can start bringing stuff up to me. Now, if I have a group of people like Greek life or athletes or a particular RSO, then I know that maybe they've been dealing with something. Then I can focus it a little bit more, okay? And that's when you can bring that information back and say, okay, this is how we can kind of change it up. Like today, in just a few minutes, I'm going to ask you guys some questions to help build off of some of the things that we're doing. Okay, so kind of think of your population and how you can kind of target them a little bit more so that it is meaningful to them. We have a lot of scenarios within our Step Up program. So we make sure those scenarios are focused on that population. So make it, make it an example of what they may be living. Make sense?
Can we go through some of the scenarios?
I do. I don't have them with me, but I'm going to send all this stuff out via email so I could give some scenarios, definitely. Yes. Any questions, by the way? I'm just up here talking, so feel free to ask questions.
What are the best, interventions besides calling 911 or saying, I'm not comfortable with this? What else can you do?
Sure. The first one for emergency situations is 911. When I look at the college population, we talk about the other resources on campus. So we look at RAs, reaching out to them. We look at the police officers. We look at the different student affairs areas. The other way that we talk to students about, because we use Step Up, is a 5-point scale of, okay, you're going to sit and talk to me, and you're going to talk about, the way you're going to respond is, I care, I see, I will. I don't have it in my head right now, I'm drawing a blank. I care, I see, I will, I am, and I'm lost on the 5th one. But it's a part of our training. So what we do is we have people sit down across from each other, and we'll have somebody sit down and say, say I have an eating disorder, okay? And I come to my friend and I say, I have an eating disorder. So what we tell our students is, you need to sit down, you listen to them, and you ask questions or you provide information by the who, what, why, when, where. That's it. You avoid the gossip, you avoid any kind of additional information going into too much of the gossipy information. Make sense? So you sit down and you talk about, they provide you with this information. Then you respond with a 5-point scale. I care about this situation. I care about you. I want you to do something. I will contact the counseling center if you do not. Or I will notify your parents of the situation if you do not. Okay, so it's kind of the verbiage and the way you talk to people. So that's one outlet for a non-emergency situation. And that's kind of teaching them how to talk and how to communicate. It's not easy. We did it in some trainings over the summer, and it was very interesting because sometimes it's hard. You start talking and you don't want to say too much, but you want to provide them the core details. So as an active bystander, you know the resources. I will call the EIU Counseling Center, or I will call SACUS in Charleston. Okay, so you provide that information. You provide the resources to them. Does that answer your question?
Can you ever do too much as a bystander?
I've had that question before, and I guess it depends on the situation. I think one thing that I really talk to students about is this information was brought to you as a trusted friend or as a trained bystander, right? And so you don't want to take this information as gossip, or you don't want to, turn this into a bigger situation than what it is, because then that's going to hurt people. So I think it's really important to know you want to provide the resources, you want to do something if it's an emergency, but that's it. Okay, if you're providing the resources, you're providing them resources with professionals on campus. You are calling 911 to get professionals to come to you to take care of the situation. Of course, following up, especially if it's a friend, making sure that they're okay, sure. But you don't want to turn it into something bigger and cause more problems for them, especially when you look at the topic of bullying. Because if you look at that and you continue on with whatever happened, so say a friend came to you and disclosed this information and you continue talking about it, or you continue bringing it up, or you tell another friend who then tells another friend, I mean, that gets worse and worse. So sticking to, okay, I have these resources, I will give them to you, I will get you to the right place, and that is it. Any other questions? Good questions. And I will get you the 5-point, it's going to drive me nuts. I'm sitting here thinking the 5-point scale. I talk about it on a very regular basis, so you would think it would just be off the tongue. Okay. Okay, so when we look at different programs, they can be context focused or general programming. Context focus is really focusing on one topic. And there's a lot of programs out there that are focusing on one topic. I actually gave you a few on the next slide here. We do Step Up because it is general. Okay, we want to focus on all the different topics. So when we look at scenarios, we give a variety of scenarios and not just one. We talk about alcohol poisoning, we talk about eating disorders, we talk about bullying, we talk about, you know, anything. It could be civility. I mean, there's a lot of civility situations that we give examples for too. So we like the more general approach. Other universities have targeted their approach on one area. Sexual assault is a big one. Women violence against women. You know, they kind of focus some of those areas instead of the more generalized area. So some of these are up here. Bridging in the Bystander is violence against women. Green dot is sexual violence. Men's program 1 and 4 actually is a little bit different. It only focuses on men, and it's the rape culture is what they focus on. So again, you can purchase these or be trained in them as Train the Trainer, but it's focusing on that one area. Mentors in Violence Prevention is looking at gender violence, bullying, school violence. It's really looking at creating more of a positive environment for some of those areas. Okay, and then Step Up is more of the generalized program that we have. So all of those websites are available to kind of review and see if that's something that you're interested in. We don't need to break into groups, but I would like to have a little conversation with you guys. We do the Step Up program as I talked about, and we're also incorporating the 5 steps and a little bit of information into some of our other programs, and then talking about bystander intervention in a lot of different meetings and how we could use it for a lot of the different topics. I kind of want to know from all of you, I want you to think about your work environment or your school environment, and how can you incorporate the spirit or the dynamic of bystander intervention into your everyday work life or school life?
Well, if someone starts to gossip or say something about someone, then you can say, stop, I don't agree with that. Let's talk about positive things.
Okay, good. So maybe it could just be you overhear something or somebody says something to you and you just say, stop, we don't need to talk about this, situation. Good, yeah. And that would be kind of going along with the next question of how you can model it. And if you start doing that, maybe others in your work will do that. Or maybe students will see that for your work environment. Maybe students will see that and think, oh, maybe I should start saying stuff like that. Good. Thank you, Georgia. Anybody else? Can you think about your work environment and how you could model bystander intervention, or maybe how you could kind of maybe motivate or bring in kind of a spirit to bystander intervention?
If you notice your surroundings wherever you are, and if someone is being picked on or there's verbal or physical abuse, take action.
Yeah, do something.
So just be aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And that is one thing that we do talk about. With Step Up, they really focus on notice your surroundings. Notice the event happening. So many times one of the examples we give, and students usually are like, oh, I didn't even think about that. One of the examples we give, or one of the scenarios, is say you're walking to class and you're going to be late for class, and your professor is not going to let you make up this exam. You have to be there on time. And you see somebody walking fairly quickly to class also, but kind of paying attention to their phone, not really paying attention to what's happening. Their paper, some papers, are flying out the back of their backpack. What do you do?
Run and help them.
Run and help them.
Pick it up and help them.
That is not usually what I hear. Students will say, well, hopefully I'm paying attention because I have my phone usually when I'm walking to class. At least they're honest, okay, all right. I've also heard well, I don't want to be late to class, so I may just yell at them and say, hey, you dropped some papers. And I said, okay, all right, that's better than doing nothing. Some people will say, I would just pick it up and say, go tell the teacher that they need to just understand that I was being an active bystander. I did have somebody say that, and I was like, yes. I thought that was pretty funny. But noticing that event around you can sometimes be a little more difficult than what people think, because a lot of times our minds are somewhere else. Even when you're walking through the quad, thinking about walking through the quad, where you're going, what you're doing. A lot of times we'll see students on their phones, looking at their phones, or have the earbuds in, and they can't even hear what's around them. So noticing the event is one of the steps, because it's so important to kind of notice what's going on around you. And I also say to them, it's not like, oh my gosh, I have to stop and look at everything. Check this out. Oh, is this okay? What's going on? We kind of talk about that. But it's just being aware. Just pay attention. Great. Any other comments on that? Yeah.
I think just with those of us that deal with students face to face on a daily basis, just paying attention to what they're trying to say, not so much what they're really saying. Because I think especially when you're in a one-on-one, usually your student's there for one particular purpose, but there may be other stuff going on.
Right.
Some of us deal with administrative tasks where it's not necessarily the best circumstances we see students.
Yes.
And some of us we have certain things we have to tell them, but a lot of the times they've got other things going on, and just stopping to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Going back to what you said earlier about, resourcing out to the proper.
Yeah.
Because, they just want to tell someone half the time, and at that point they really don't care. Just they want someone to pay attention.
Right, exactly. Yes, and it is sometimes shocking and disappointing to me when I'm in session and I'm like, now we have the health service, we have a counseling center, and they're like, what, we have a health service on campus? Oh, don't tell me that. Being a health service employee, just don't tell me that. It's just, so providing them that list of resources and resourcing out. Great point. Okay, the last question I have for you, and then I'll let you guys go, is, do you feel that it's important to acknowledge when people are seen as an active bystander? So if we know that a student was an active bystander and we know that they stepped up, do you think it's important for us as college professionals to acknowledge them? What about in the grade school or high school level?
I think it's very important
Okay.
to be supportive and let them know they made the right decision and that they were ethical and used, made a good decision.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
I think it's important to an extent, because I think, when people see other people doing things, they want to do those things, whether they're good or bad things. And if you have, especially younger students, and I worked in K-12, so, especially boys, they have that.
Yeah.
They have hormones all over the place.
Yes.
But, to intervene when, two, freshman boys are duking it out, a 7th grade student trying to step in to intervene, that's not the right thing they should do just because they want to help. They should be going to get an adult. Someone that is able to, or getting, saying, hey, you and you try to talk them down. I'm going to go get, the principal or whatever, but instead of just jumping in, I think when we don't acknowledge that, why they're doing the right things and why it's important, and they don't have, you know, they just see it kind of like superhero syndrome. Everyone wants to be a superhero, but no one knows how.
Right.
You get people who can get hurt instead of actually helping the situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good point.
And it's also important to discuss, you know, what could have been done, like if a person would ever be in that situation again. Because, I mean, you want to learn from your mistakes or, you know, what you could have done.
Right.
And if you talk about it and think about it and discuss it, then maybe the next time they will,
Yeah.
you know, step up and help.
Yeah. Good point to kind of go over. We're kind of toying with some ideas on how to recognize people, but we also don't want it to be, it's kind of a fine line, you know. Do we make a big deal about it and then hope that everybody will continue, you know, kind of see that? Do we write them a letter? We kind of thought about maybe a letter of acknowledgement would be nice, to just say, hey, thank you for stepping up. Or will they think that's, you know, I don't know. Will they think that that's not important, or that won't be, I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on it. I don't know yet. Does anybody have any feedback on that?
I think
We're talking
we
about
kind
college
of run
students.
into the idea too of doing things because they're right versus doing things to get recognized.
Yes.
I mean, we're dealing
That's
with a
thank you. I'm
generation
trying to
of-
not, yeah.
Of kids that, oh,
Yeah.
look, I love YouTube, watch my YouTube video.
Yes,
like,
yes.
I have a blog. You know, they're
Yeah.
very into the selfies
Yes.
and Instagram and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
where's that line with them
Mhm.
between them doing something because it's the right thing to do and they should do it just to do it versus
Right.
People will look at me and I can put this on my wall.
Yeah.
And Facebook, Tumblr, you know, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I think a word of praise or compliment, that sometimes goes a long,
Mhm.
long way.
Mhm.
It's very important.
Maybe just a phone call. Yeah, good point. Thank you all for being here. It was kind of a quick, very brief overview, and we're over time. But thank you very much for being here. If you guys can fill out the evals, that would be great. And